Good morning, everyone. Jeez Louise, I apologize for the intro. My mic was off. Anyway, good morning, everyone. It's the one and only Notorious Glorious of the Gorilla Economics come to you live. And we're giving you the news, the views, and all the wonderful things important to you. Check us out, RogueNews.com. Follow us on Twitter at Real Rogue News and Rogue News on every single podcasting app known to humanity. We are there. We're there with a bag of chips. Also, guys, check out our sponsors. Oh, before I even tell you to go check out our paid sponsors, I recommend also you follow us on Twitter at Real Rogue News, where we bring it to you raw like nobody else can, giving you the geostrategic, geopolitical, geoeconomic, and if you go in depth with all this good stuff. And I'm just stuttering because I got too much coffee, and it's still cold as heck here in New York. It's a balmy 16 degrees. That is the high. Yesterday was 1 degrees. I think I've mentioned that when I was on the air. Anyway, check out remaincalm.net. Remaincalm.net, everything from the blockchain trust, settlement trusts. You have the 1099K Buster, the Crypto School lifetime membership for $100. For less than $100, you get a lifetime membership to the Crypto School. And then, of course, take advantage of this for a limited time. You can go one-on-one with the great one. Yours truly. You have the Gorilla Strategic Consultation session with the Gorilla. Yes. And of course, our awesome funding program. And the funding program is pretty awesome. It's it's whether it's personal or business or whatever you need. So check it out, remaincalm.net. Also, guys, mycbdedibles.com, whether you need the deliciousness delivered to you, whether it's doggy treats or the almond, the granola bars. Look at that white chocolate coconut pecan truffles. Those are so delicious. That is so good. You want to slap your mama. CBD mints. The mints are amazing, powerful with real peppermint oil. CBD infused coffee. Everything, folks. This is just amazing. And El Cuco was telling me, because he'll be back soon, but El Cuco was telling me that they are introducing it's a new product coming out. I don't want to say it. I'd rather have him introduce it. But anyway, it's going to knock your socks off. Check it out, mycbdedibles.com, mycbdedibles.com. And last but not least, watch us trade. Go to wt.live or watchustrade.io. 7 for 7, folks. 7 for 7. $7 for 7 days of trading, where you get the full brunt from Z and Cowboy, the ins and outs of the market, everything you need. It's right there. 7 for 7 with watchustrade.io. And with that being said, guys, let us get into it. With that being said, all right, where do I begin? Let me situate myself. Folks, this morning, if you were to wake up, you would have known, especially if you're a trader in stocks. Global stocks have crapped the bed. They have absolutely shat the bed, so to speak, in a very proper term. Yes. Major sell-off Monday. Markets are seeing red all throughout the world, from sea to signing sea, from New York to Hong Kong to Shanghai to Tokyo to Frankfurt to London. It is a bloodbath. There's a lot of panic in the air at some level. There's a lot of panic. Monday's sell-off, which spared the U.S. cash market, which was closed for MLK Day, has stretched for a second day, with U.S. traders walking into a sea of red in Asian and European markets, while the S&P futures are down over 20 points following a pessimistic economic assessment by the International Monkey Fund, which is the IMF, led by the giraffe-necked woman, Christine Lagarde. Renewed trade concerns after the U.S. submitted a formal request. Oh, look at this. It's going to get more juicy. Formal request to extradite the Huawei CFO from China, and very poor results from UBS. The appetite for risk is exceptionally low. Ajay Kapoor, head of the Asia Pacific and Global Emerging Market Strategy for Bank of America, one of the most insolvent institutions, Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. The appetite for risk is exceptionally low, says the man who's working for an institution that is filled to the brim, to its eyeballs, with completely risky assets known as derivatives. So this jackwad told Bloomberg Television, most of the time when you buy, when sentiment is this depressed, you tend to make money, unless there's a recession. And if you're confident there will be no recession in the next year or so, I think this is a good indicator. Again, it's working on sentiment. I'm going to dissect this for you guys and show you exactly what the hell it really means in the grand scheme of things. Europe's Stocks 600 index paired an early drop after Swiss banking giant UBS reported disappointing results and a $13 billion in outflows, compounding what has been a catastrophic 2018 for Europe's banking sector, which lost nearly 30% of its value over the year and is sending UBS stocks sliding while setting up a pessimistic tone for the continent's banks, which are set to begin reporting Q4 earnings after stocks rallied to the strongest start of the year since 1938. Investors now find their conviction tested anew as a familiar litany of concerns weigh on sentiment, adding to the sense of gloom on Monday in its World Economic Outlook report. The IMF downgraded the global economy for the second time in 3 months, when it predicted the global economy would grow at 3.5% in 2019 and 3.6% in 2020, down by 0.2 and 0.1 percentage points respective from last October's forecast. In the latest confirmation that European economy is on the verge of recession, today's German ZU current situation report printed a 27.6, a huge miss to the 43.0 expected and the lowest in 4 years. The downgrades heavily reflected weakness in Europe though with Germany hurt by new car emission rules. So stupid. Italy under market pressure due to Rome's recent budget standoff with the European Union, and Brexit worries aplenty. As a result, European stocks struggled to stay positive as a U.S. futures pointed to a sharply lower opening after Monday's holiday. We have seen a little bit of pullback, but whether it's the IMF or the downgrade in China and all that other good stuff, it's all hampering the market. Another sign of risk, the Australian dollar, often used as a liquid proxy for China investments, eased 0.3 to 71 cents on the dollar, putting it on track for a third straight loss. FX markets, the dollar climbed for a 6-day holding at near 3-week high as investors sought the relative safety of the U.S. currency. That knocked the euro and the most emerging market currencies, many of which had a decent start to the year. Sterling was slightly higher at 1.29 after the data showed the British workers' pay growth hit a new 10-year high. Unemployment had grown much more than expected in the 3 months to the end of November. Otherwise, traders were still waiting to see whether UK Prime Minister Theresa May can push her Brexit plans to the country's bitterly divided parliament. So on and so forth. It is this is a lengthy amalgamated article that's been put together with our boys from Zero Hedge. It is a lengthy amalgamated article. Anyway, the gist of the story, folks. The gist of the story. There's the narrative they want you to follow, and this is why I'm going to do something that is so opposite to everybody in alt media. Everybody in alt media. Okay. Do something so opposite. Everybody has been screaming the gloom and the doom and no boom. And the only boom will probably be a nuclear bomb somewhere detonated and or it's the end of the world as we know it and all this other BS. Let me explain something to you guys. I want you to listen to some of the key words. Put your thinking caps on. We're gonna go to school, folks. We're gonna go to school. Listen to Ajay Kapoor, the head of Asia Pacific and Global Emerging Market Strategy for B of A, Merrill Lynch. Listen to his statement, and I quote, most of the time when you buy, when what is low? When what? What is depressed? Asset prices? No, they're still bloody sky high. Folks, I can tell you right now, the market could crap 3,000 points and still be in a bull market. What are you talking about, man? Like, it's crazy. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? You sound insane. Most of the time when you buy when what is low, when sentiment is low, you tend to make money. Unless there's a recession. If you're confident that there will be no recession in the next year or so, I think this is a good indicator. Let's dissect that entire statement, because whether it's Ajay Kapoor, whether it's some guy at Goldman or Blackstone or Deutsche Bank or JP Morgan or Barclays or Lloyd's or Santander or you just keep going on and on, the list of names. It is the same. The absolute same. Same narrative. You buy when sentiment is depressed. When sentiment is low, you tend to make money unless there's a recession. Unless there's a recession. Oh, the sentiment is low. You want to make money, but you don't want to buy nothing because there might be a recession. Folks, truth of the matter is we've been in a recession since 2008. We haven't bloody recovered. If you believe the narrative that they're telling you, that markets are crapping the bed, unless you tend to make money when sentiment is depressed unless there's a recession. Over and over and over again, that is the talking point that's been put out there by the powers that be. Unless there's a recession. Unless you tend to make money when sentiment is depressed, unless there's a recession. And if you don't see a recession next year, then everything is good. Everything is good. This is what is being parroted over and over and over. It has become axiomatic at this point because they've been saying the same crap since 2009. Folks, let me tell you, and in order for you to grasp this, and to really take it in, you have to understand what is being discussed here. What is being discussed here is something that is contained within the digital, fabricated, electronic economy. Ooh, it's a sea of red in the electronic economy. A sea of red. Look at it. It's all red. All that red. Look at all this red. Yes. It's terrible what's happening. Oh, yeah, so terrible. What are we going to do? Folks, you and I both know the electronic economy has nothing to do with the physical economy. The physical economy has been on the deathbed since 2008, and at the turn of 2016, we've had some little bit of pulse here and there, a little bit of a green shoot. We felt a pulse. There was a glimmer of hope, and again, the patient is starting to flatline. But the ghost, this ghost phantom economy, that's been on the ascent since 2009, 2010, and especially in the last 3 years or so. So explain this to me. How can you have a physical economy crumble from 2008 onwards? Crumble. But the electronic economy skyrockets. And the usual adage is, oh, well, the physical stock market is at least a few years ahead, maybe like a year or two ahead of the actual economy. Well, we are damn 11 years into this damn recession. 11 years. At what point does the physical economy catch the electronic economy? It can't. Why can't it? Because there's been a myriad of electronic, digital, compounded, taped, chopped up, screwed together BS assets known as derivatives that have been sold throughout the world. There's so much chicanery involved in the market that you're seeing it in the negative feedback loops. We're seeing it in the IR swaps. We're seeing it within the derivative market. We're seeing it in the bond market. We're seeing it. And all it is doing is these mavens with their algos. They're so independent and decentralized. Nobody really controls these. A bunch of BS. The bloody market is rigged. It's been proven time and time and time and time again. It is the bloody stock market at this point is no different than World of Warcraft. The bloody stock market at this point is no different from Call of Duty. It's no different than Super Mario Brothers. It is a rigged game. You can play in the game. You can win in the game. You could lose in the game. But it is a rigged game. There is a predetermined outcome. As long as you play within the parameters of the game, you will be rewarded by the game. If debt was as cancerous and as vile as normal people would think, and it is, if debt is the most vile, vicious thing ever done, let me ask you this, folks. They have utilized debt instruments. They have utilized the power of the central bank. They have utilized the avarice of the reserve banking system. They've utilized the concept of credit and money printing. In other words, they utilize the greatest weapon, which this is the philosopher's stone that they've been seeking for millennia. They could not turn stone to gold. But what they've done is even more powerful. The central banker has convinced you that debt is good. The banker has convinced you that paper is as good as gold. They've convinced the masses that paper and debt, credit, and the system of debt and credit is something of virtue, something you should pursue, something you should chase. That is the philosopher's stone. They've made paper better than gold. And 99.999999% of the world's morons chase it. Kill each other for it. We'll do all sorts of great acts for it. Now, let me ask you a question. Who has benefited from bloody bubbles? The entire Western banking system. Some would say, well, China's going to put an end to that. Russia's going to put an end to that. Yeah, they are. But don't you think for 1 second there's enough gold to back every modern financial system there is out there? It's not going to happen. Because every country, my friend, because there is no gulch out there. I would love to create a gulch, a libertarian paradise. I'd love to create it, but it doesn't exist. You see, every country, I don't care if you're Russia, you're China, you're the U.S., pick your poison. Every country and their leadership has one goal: perpetual growth in the face of finite resources. How the hell do you have perpetual growth in the face of finite resources? Simple. You create what we have today: fractional reserve lending, the central bank, the issuance of credit and debt. This is is it a criminal system? Absolutely. Is it a satanic system? Absolutely. Is it an enslaving system? Absolutely. But is it perfect or damn near perfect in what it does and what it has done for this long in countries wherever it goes? Absolutely. If it wasn't so damn good, how do you think the Chinese built their economy? You think the Chinese built their economy on strict and stringent lending practices? Do you think for 1 second that the only difference between us and them is they're smart enough to get into gold because they understand the leverage there. But their banks and their markets, they too have their own electronic phantom growth. They too have their own bubbles. Not as bad as ours. It's not systemic like ours, but they too have it. Why do they have it? Let me ask you a question. If they are so smart, why is their banking set up and their investment set up and their market setups practically a mirror image of ours? Almost. Because it works. Because it does one thing that the Chinese leaders want. You know what they want? Bubbles. Why do they want bubbles? The phantom wealth effect, my friend, that we face in the modern day is the philosopher's stone. It is the philosopher's stone. It is the desire of all the acclamists. But instead of turning stone to gold, they have made paper better than gold. So, recession. Market's going to go. It's going to shit the bed. Everything's red. Everything's going to go blood red. Everything's done. Market's collapsing. No. I said weeks ago that we're going to head into a time where we're going to get a lot of fear porn before this thing turns around. It's happening as it were. Why? Because they are not going to give up the most perfect system that the rulers have created. If you think for 1 second these rulers are going to step down and let us plebes take over, you're out of your damn mind. You're out of your gourd. Their system will still be in effect in some way, shape, or form. It will still be in effect. It might have some new rudiments. It might have some of the old stuff purged out of it. People say, well, end the Fed, V, end the Fed. Trump's going to end the Fed. Okay, he's going to end the Fed, and guess what? He's going to put the Fed underneath the Treasury, and the Treasury will have control of the Fed. Ooh, freedom just again. Nope. You are drinking Kool-Aid of the highest order if you think that's going to happen. Even if that were to happen, do you think for 1 second the Treasury is going to say, hello, let's have a return to sound money. Let's go back to the classical gold standard that even John Maynard Keynes liked, which is the classical gold standard from 1877 to 1912. The classical gold standard, which is the greatest economic boom in recorded human history. Even if we were to go to that, it'll only be a matter of time that the desirous politician, it'll be only a matter of time before the craven politician and banker and the sloving, decadent populace will accept yet again the wonders, the corruption, and the virtues of asset bubbles. Markets love bubbles, man. Every boom and bust of a bubble is a next growth level for these guys. You're going to see some sell-offs in the next coming days. You're going to have a lot of ups and downs. Volatility will be through the roof. A lot of people ain't going to have stomach for it. But I'm telling you I'm going to tell you right now. And again, I'm not talking about the physical economy. So what I'm about to say, don't think there's going to be an infrastructure jobs boom and all of a sudden we're building high-speed rails across the country and everybody's gainfully employed. All these things, don't expect that. What I'm saying is the electronic market. And the electronic market, things are going to go for a massive boom. Dow 29,000, here we come. When the dust settles, man, I will be the guy on the top of this whole entire thing waving the flag. Dow 29,000. Hashtag Dow 29K, baby. Make the t-shirts. It's going to happen. The algos are going to come in for the rescue. They're not going to shut this off. With every bust, every pullback, fortunes are being made. Folks, wealth is never destroyed. It's only transferred. And you have a market addiction. Why? This is all rigged. So everybody's saying, hey, we're going to head into a hype. No, they're going to play this damn thing. It's not going to implode down. This whole entire economy and market is going to explode up. Monetary hypoxia is a term that I coined. I don't even know how many years ago. Monetary hypoxia. I said it. Jim Willie also said the same thing. We're talking about a period in time where it will be absolutely through the roof in terms of the dollar's index being as high as historically ever will be, and the market being as high. And then you can have cryptocurrencies being as high, and then commodities will be as high. Why? We're getting ready for the biggest asset blowing the world has ever seen. You want to talk about bubbles? You haven't seen bubbles yet. You haven't seen bubbles yet. Hot on the heels of the electronic dot tape, the existing home sales have crashed for December. After the NAHB's optimism rebounded early in the month, all eyes are on this morning's existing home sales data for any signs of optimism. While some are expecting a crash, and the consensus expecting a modest 1.5 month-over-month drop after rebounding in October and November in the face of declining new and pending home sales, December existing home sales did indeed collapse down a shocking 6.4%. December existing home sales in the Northeast dropped 6.8% to an annual rate of 690,000. The median price in the Northeast is 283,000, up 8.2%. In the Midwest, existing home sales fell 11.2%. Existing home sales in the South dropped 5.4%. Existing home sales year-over-year percentage is down massively, damn near 11% across the board. On top of that, a crash is coming. Amid the government shutdown driven dearth of macro data, this morning offers a tasty morsel to feed the hungry and hopeful masses. Existing home sales are crashing. So the electronic economy, see, there's still a great deal of inventory out there. They need people. Look, home prices have to crash. Why? They need the suckers to come in. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. Fools rush in where angels fear to tread. They need this asset as low as possible in order to put more people into homes. Why? to get more collateralized mortgages, mortgage-backed securities created and then sold throughout the world in various derivative forms as A-plus securities, just like they did prior to 2008. Nothing's fixed. Nothing is fixed. So you're gonna expect a major correction and fall. A housing crash is coming, and it's gonna wipe out a lot of people. We're gonna see some defaults, but you're gonna see a rush of people rushing in to buy homes at basically record-setting prices that we haven't seen in years. And they're going to say, the housing data is wonderful. The sentiment is excellent. It's great. It's awesome. And it's off to the races again. That's why the interest rates are up. Interest rates, don't get fooled by the kabuki theater. Oh, interest rates are up. Okay, fine, whatever. There's a million ways these guys can get around that. A million ways. This is all controlled, folks. It's all controlled. Last but not least, there's a glimmer of hope here. This is from Russia Insider. And I'll share with you. Tulsi Gabbard, the harbinger of the coming great foreign policy realignment. Tulsi Gabbard, my future baby mama. Oh, Tulsi. Anyway, there's one main issue that is central to the rest, and I disagree with Tulsi Gabbard on a lot of issues. I really do. But where I stand firmly with her is her stance on the most diabolical aspect of the deep state, which is the murderous foreign policy. The foreign policy of perpetual war, which leaves us in perpetual debt. And there's one main issue that is central to the rest, and that is the issue of war and peace. Those are the words of Congressman Tulsi Gabbard, Democrat of Hawaii, appearing on CNN January the 12th, as she threw her hat into the presidential ring. Gabbard is one of the few Democrats in the 2020 mix who has experience as a combatant in war. Back in 2004, at the peak fighting in Iraq, she volunteered for duty with the Hawaii National Guard as it was deployed to that country. So for her, as well as for all the other veterans in our recent wars of choice, America's Middle East policy is more than an object for armchair strategizing. Thus did Gabbard smile in agreement when CNN host Van Jones summarized her views as hawk on terror, dove on regime change. And most Americans would agree. That is what everybody wants in an anti-terrorism policy. But few want it more. But few want more foreign wars and regime changes. Interestingly, Gabbard's words and related anti-war actions make her a controversial figure on today's left. As one Democratic activist tweeted to her nearly 20,000 followers, she has defended and met with Assad. She sided with Putin over Obama regarding Syria. It is true that Gabbard, a longtime critic of military intervention in Syria, went to Damascus in January of 2017 to meet Bashar al-Assad. Moreover, immediately after the 2016 election, Gabbard met even with the dreaded Donald Trump. Oh my God. Some will say, of course, that this is what diplomacy is all about. One engages people in dialogue, including antagonists, foreign and domestic. For instance, during the Vietnam War, plenty of Americans traveled to North Vietnam, including most notoriously Jane Fonda. And while such trips caused storms on the right, few on the left were bothered. But yet these days, the left is bothered. For example, Rolling Stone, once the vanguard of anti-war counterculture, is now among those raining down thunder on the anti-war candidate. Its headline, Tulsi Gabbard's 2020 campaign may be over before it starts. Yes, times do change. Back in 1972, Senator George McGovern himself, a decorated combat vet of World War II, ran on a strongly anti-Vietnam War platform, and Rolling Stone was right there with him. In the words of one writer for the magazine, McGovern is indisputably a man of conscience. Another writer went further, saying George McGovern is the only candidate in either party worth voting for. As we all know, McGovern won the Democratic nomination that year, but was then crushed by Richard Nixon in the general election. Yet dovishness survived that defeat. In the 1970s and 80s, grassroots McGovernites took over much of the Democratic Party. And of course, those were the years when the Democrats had a hard time winning the presidency, even as they kept a firm grip on Congress. And that fact was not lost on the party insiders. So in 1992, when Bill Clinton won the presidential nomination, Democrats had refashioned themselves to be more hawkish. Clinton himself didn't have much standing as a hawk. He had, after all, avoided the draft during the Vietnam War and had been a staffer on McGovern's 72 campaign. Nevertheless, from the comfort and safety of the Oval Office, he was happy to posture as the aggressive. Later in 2002, Clinton's wife, Senator the war goddess Hillary Clinton, another ex-McGovernite, was joined by the most Senate Democrats supporting George W. Bush's war in Iraq. Yet as many Democrats were given over to the liberal version of neoconservatism, and anti-war Democrats had hardly disappeared. For instance, Barack Obama won the 2008 nomination in large part because he opposed the war in Iraq. Enter Gabbard. Having elected to Congress in 2012, she regained her post as vice chair of the Democratic National Committee. 2016, that she could explicitly support Sanders. In other words, looking to 2020, Gabbard can rightfully claim her share of the anti-war mantle, even if Sanders chooses to run again. Yet these days, it remains to be seen how the Democrats count themselves as anti-war. Indeed, according to the recent Political Morning Consult poll, just 29% of Democrats support withdrawing from the U.S. troops from Syria, while 50% oppose. As for Afghanistan, by a 1-point plurality, Democrats count themselves as hawks. So what's going on with Democrats? Is a dovish McGovern dead? And it goes on and on and on with this article. But the most important thing is Tulsi Gabbard's candidacy sees one glimmer of the same sort of possible future here in the United States. It's only a glimmer. Yet Gabbard is just 37. She has time. And what is meant by that is there is a huge focus over the last several years, a huge focus in ending the murderous foreign policy that has seen us get in trouble over and over and over and over again. Trump has the right of way in yesterday's broadcast. If you haven't heard it, go back and listen to it. The deep state needs to die. It's not going to die with members of the political class. The people that will kill the deep state should be you and me. We, the people, folks. We, the people. That is what needs to be put out there. That's what needs to be put out there. And that is what this whole entire thing is about. It is basically the preamble. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Any change that needs to be done, it is going to be through us. It was 3% of the population that stood up to the most powerful empire the world has ever seen. And we kicked their ass. We kicked their ass. We are a country whose government, and I love how Ron Paul put it. If you haven't got a chance to read what Ron Paul wrote, he said it so perfectly. How stable can the system be if it's threatened by transparency? The 3% of the population stood up, and we need 3% of the population today to not only stand up, but to have a new Declaration of Independence, a new affirmation that this entire bloated, demonic, satanic, out of control, disgusting pustule of a government needs to be purged, reordered, and done away with. Unless that happens, unless we stop sitting on our hands waiting for an individual or some secretive group that posts on message boards on the internet to save us and do it for us, we are sitting by and having the flame of sacred liberty extinguished right before our eyes. And as my mentor who got me into commodities and strategic metals said a very, very long time ago, he said you could hope in one hand and you could shit in the other hand and see which piles up faster. Hope is not a strategy. It's about taking the fight. And I'm not talking about physical violence here. I'm talking about a demand, a line in the sand to the deep state and saying you're done. Folks, do you realize we have no need for banks anymore? We have no need for government. They are obsolete. We don't need them. And we need to tell these obso elites that they're done. This far and no further. That's what this whole thing is about. Again, folks, thank you all for listening into this broadcast. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Hit it with a thumbs up. Share it with your friends, your family. Also, check out our paid sponsors, mycbdedibles.com, mycbdedibles.com. Book a consultation session with yours truly. Go to remaincalm.net and get one-on-one with a great one, and we get it done, and I'll talk to you about whatever you want. Also, check out the Crypto School and watch us trade, watchustrade.io. The boys will be on later today. And with that being said, thank you all for your love, your support, and your prayers, and we will all be back tomorrow. Peace out.